When most people think of South Lake Tahoe, they picture crystal clear water, sparkling beaches, and long summer days spent by the lake. And don't get me wrong, that's a huge part of what makes Tahoe so special. But today, we're trading the shoreline for the mountains as we head into nature on the Sickle Trail. Just minutes from the heart of South Lake Tahoe, this hike offers incredible views, peaceful forests, and a completely different side of Tahoe that many visitors never experience. Let's discover together one of South Lake Tahoe's most peaceful escapes.
Here's our little trickle.
Okay.
And that's in April, like late April.
That's at its best.
So we are right here at this little hiker guide. We're gonna make our way up to this number 1 to get up to our vista point. That's where we're gonna get our best view of the lake today. And then instead of making our way up to the number 2, which is the waterfall, we actually just kind of loop back around underneath this gondola line and head back down to the barn. But we're gonna catch another vista under here as well. A couple things I always like to point out. This trail system, you can turn it anywhere from the 2-mile loop we're doing. You can make it into a 10, 11, 12-mile stretch if you really wanted to. But what we connect to here, this big green trail on the outside, that is our Tahoe Rim Trail. So that is a 166-mile loop around the entire lake. I've known plenty of people that have hiked it now. It takes anywhere from usually like 8 to 16 days, depending on how much people do. My buddy said their lowest day was 14 miles and their biggest day was 28. But it took them about 10 days to do it. But South Lake, this connecting point is one of the more popular ones because of the shops in town. They can resupply and all that stuff. So the only other thing is, people always ask, they have a picture of horses here. I have seen more bears in this park than I've seen horses up in this park. So I have no clue where they think the horseback riding is coming from. But the bigger thing that we will be watching out for today, and I'm gonna keep an eye out, and if I do see one, we're just gonna step off to the side because the mountain bikers are out here. So, and they'll come flying by. I had one about a month ago almost take my group out, and it was pretty intense. But either way, so that's really the only thing that we're gonna be looking for. Other than that, I've got a couple spots along the way that will stop, take a water break, soak in some sights. I can point out a few things I know about the local area, including the trees. But other than that, we are gonna hike up this section and get to the, almost like the kind of where it flattens out here for a second. That's where we're gonna take our first water break. So we're moving on up in here.
That was our tour guide, Robert. We had the pleasure of going along with him and the rest of the intimate group. There was about 6 of us. It was also Robert's last day on the job, and he told us his final wish was for us to see one last bear on the hike. The peaceful forest trail begins just a few minutes from the casinos of Stateline. You can literally walk from Heavenly Village into the forest without even getting into a car. One of the coolest features of the Sickle Trail is that it crosses the California-Nevada state line. In fact, Sickle Bi-State Park was the first park in the country to be jointly managed by 2 states. That means you can literally stand with one foot in California and the other in Nevada. A fun photo opportunity and a pretty unique hiking experience. Now, you probably won't see much wildlife during a busy summer afternoon, but black bears do live throughout this park, although they're usually more interested in avoiding people than meeting them. Now, spoiler alert, we didn't see any black bears on our hike, thankfully. Mule deer are also common visitors, especially during the quieter morning and evening hours. And then if you're out on this trail, you can listen for the loud, raspy call of the Steller's jay. That's Tahoe's unmistakable blue mountain bird. And chipmunks also are out there as well. I don't think we encountered any wildlife on this trip other than seeing a few birds. Even though the hike isn't extremely long, you're already starting around 6,200 feet above sea level. That thinner mountain air is why the climb often feels steeper than it looks. Most of the forest here is made up of Jeffrey pine, one of the easiest trees to identify. If you smell hints of vanilla or butterscotch, that's probably a Jeffrey pine warming in the afternoon sun. Jeffrey pine cones are often called the friendly pine because their scales curve inward instead of sticking you. Long before settlers arrived, this region was home to the Washoe people who lived around Lake Tahoe for thousands of years. During the 1800s, much of Tahoe's forests were heavily logged to support nearby mining operations. The forest you see today has largely grown back over the last century. Now, as we get closer to the top of our hike, it's important to note that Lake Tahoe itself is incredibly deep, over 1,600 feet, making it the second deepest lake in the United States. The granite here is the same rock that forms Yosemite's famous cliffs. Here it is, our main vista point. Beautiful view. A lot of folks take pictures here. Okay, now I want to let Robert tell the next part, but I want you to please disregard the heavy breathing.
So one thing that I always like to note before we walk through this next little section, so back in 2004, someone was riding on the gondola, decided to have a little smoke break, and they threw their cigarette out the gondola. What happened next was what the locals called the gondola fire. It burned for 10 days, took out almost 1,400 square acres up here, and we're about to walk through a little bit of the burn scar, so you can still see on the trees the char from the fire and everything. They were never able to find out who started it, but they knew that it came from a cigarette from the gondola. The investigators were able to kind of narrow it down to that. So I know you rode on the gondola recently, so you noticed that the window, you can't really open it. It's like plexiglass with little air holes poked through it. So you can't throw anything out of the gondola now. But yeah, this whole area kind of burned. So how I said the locals call this fire break, kind of got that name from this area burning. So when you're down at the hotel, I always like to say look back up when you're back at the hotel and see this area, because right here it looks obviously big, but when you're back at the hotel, it's like holy cow, all that burned.
Wow.
So we're gonna try to do this little area here, so you'll see it up there.
So do you know when that was? How long ago was it?
2004.
Oh, okay. 20 years.
This thing happened like 2 weeks before the 4th of July. I had to bring in like 12,000 wireless firefighters so they could try to stop it from getting down to like Stateline and stuff.
Wow. The Van Sickle Trail is more than a local hike. It's an official gateway to the Tahoe Rim Trail, a 165-mile loop that circles the entire lake. National Geographic Adventure once named the Tahoe Rim Trail among America's top hiking trails. And every summer, long-distance backpackers from all over the world begin or end their Tahoe Rim Trail journey right here. Of course, we didn't hike that much of it, but we were still able to take in a lot of the wonderful beauty of this hiking trail. You don't usually expect to see gondolas on a hiking trail, but here they become part of the experience. Watching them drift silently overhead adds another layer to the scenery and reminds you just how close this trail is to Heavenly Mountain Resort.
No, so these are actually old original housekeeping cabins from the 50s, back when they, like, for the casino. So they're actually probably right where the Timber Lodge was. And I think they said they moved them up here in like the 80s. They shifted them up the hill here.
Okay.
And there's about 8 of them tucked away back in this area.
Now, if these cabins look old, it's because they are. Some date back to the early 1900s, while others were relocated here to preserve a piece of South Lake Tahoe's history. They add a little character to the end of an already beautiful hike. And more gondolas overhead as we entered the final stretch of our hike.